please welcome to the stage the very lovely Alice Benham. Here she is, looking gorgeous.
Hello. I don't mean to alarm anyone, but in 20 minutes' time, this stage will be occupied by Catherine Ryan, okay? So I'm thinking of myself as a bit of a warm-up act, okay? So if you need some motivation to lean in, T-minus 20 mins, keep me to time, and we're gonna have such an interesting conversation happening. But before that, I'm here to talk about goal setting because just over a year ago, on the 30th of March, I woke up bright and early and jumped on a train up to Stoke-on-Trent. Woo! I was on the way to the very first Confidence Live, which, side note, does anyone else, when Bryony said earlier who was here last year, feel really smug, being like, yeah, I trusted the first album. Yeah. I didn't wait to see that it was good and then come to the second one. I was here for the OG. I was on my way up to Confidence Live. And like many people, I deemed the success of a conference on the quality of my note-taking. So I was at the, airport, not an airport, station. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, I don't have a fresh notebook. Anyone like that? If you don't have a fresh notebook, the notes are gonna be dire, you're gonna fail. So I did what any logical overspender would do, and I walked myself into W.H. Smith's, and I said, sir, give me your finest black notebook, because we're not a woman of much vibe going on here. And for 25 great British pounds, painful, let me tell you, I purchased this notebook right here. And I sat through the day of Confidence Live, and I had so much vision bubbling up in me. Does anyone resonate with feeling that way right now? You've had a whole day of thought-provoking conversations, inspiring people, and I was sat there, you know, like when you're kind of seeing a horse like at the start of a race, like ready to go, ready to go. And I was just like, get me home so I can achieve some of these goals. And I remember one of my favorite talks was by the brilliant Thierry, who spoke again today. And he encouraged us to think about one big goal that we would want to achieve. One thing that would feel really scary but really exciting. And I opened my notebook, and I realized why it was 25 pounds, because it has a pocket in the back. Oh yeah. And in that pocket, I placed the big scary goal. I wrote my big scary goal down in that pocket, I put it back in, and I was like, yes, we've done it. And then do you know what happened? Thank you very much for your faith in me, everybody. I reopened this notebook about 2 months ago. I'd forgotten it even had a pocket, so that was a second moment of joy. But I found this piece of paper, opened it up, looked at it, and went, gosh, fucking darn it. We didn't do the thing. I had been sat in your seats a year ago, and I set this really exciting, scary goal. And a year on, I looked at it and went, that is as exciting, but I have done absolutely nothing towards it. So my aim in the next 18 minutes or so is to make you not be like me. Right? We're about to hear from Catherine Ryan. We're about to be closing off today. And I'm sure so many of you in different ways are leaving with vision of what you want to look different. I'm going to teach you how to set some goals from today that aren't going to make you in a year's time look at that piece of paper and just feel like you failed. Is everyone up for that? Cool. I'm going to get my clicker that I forgot because it's almost like I've had all day to prepare for this. What happens when we think we have failed a goal? And this has happened to me about a month ago when I saw that page in that notebook, is we conclude, I'm the failure. Right? Anyone hard relate to this Taylor Swift lyric? We go, I didn't take any action towards that goal, therefore I am the problem, it is me. I cannot achieve that goal. I am rubbish. I'm rubbish at goal setting. I am just a failure. But actually, I want to refocus that and actually say, what if the problem wasn't you? What if the problem was the way that you set that goal? You see, when we look at goal setting from that perspective, instantly, it's less about being in this cycle of shame and more about looking at, okay, goal setting maybe isn't as simple as it's made out to be, so how do I do this in a way that's going to help me? Something that I notice a lot of people kind of get wrong, and I definitely do this myself, is we think of goal setting as a way to measure success. Anyone resonate with that, right? We set a goal and we're like, this is my barometer to decide if in a year's time I'm good or I'm bad. You know, I think we get that from school systems, workplace culture, right? You set KPIs, you get goals given to yourself. But that's a really unhelpful way to see goal setting because it's so binary. What if instead We thought about setting goals not to measure whether we've succeeded or failed, but actually just to help guide our action. We've heard it this afternoon from the brilliant Jess, right? Action is the common denominator to progress. I've had the privilege of working with thousands of successful business owners. I can tell you the only secret to success out there is not that online course that someone's selling to you from the Maldives, it's action. So what if we were to set goals from a place of that? Now I'm going to demonstrate how to set effective goals by using myself as an example. A year and a half ago, I, like many people probably have had over this last week, watched the London Marathon, and I had tears in my eyes, and I saw my friends running it, and I went, that's going to be me. So I signed up to run it, got a place. I was running for a charity that I was really passionate about. At the time, though, I could only run 5K. And I mean like a not very good fight. You know when people are like, oh my God, that was such a slow run, and it was like in 30 minutes. I'm talking like an hour-long 5K that you could probably walk at this kind of pace. But I signed up for the London Marathon. I was so excited. I was like, I'm going to do this. And then 6 months later, fueled by caffeine, I was at the London Marathon. But instead of running it, I was cheering on my friends drinking an iced coffee in a coat. Because I set my goal the wrong way. So we're going to unpack why I didn't achieve this goal so you can learn how to set goals and not end up like this. Okay, the first mistake that I made when I set that goal of I'm going to run the London Marathon is I set the wrong goal. As you're listening to this, I want you to resonate. Which of these mistakes do you perhaps notice yourself making? Self-awareness is the first step here. When you set a goal that isn't right for you, you fail at the first hurdle. Because if the goal isn't right for you, you're going to feel hugely demotivated to achieve it. And even if you push through all the sludge of actually ending up achieving it, you're going to feel real dissatisfied on the other side of it. I'm going to be really honest with you. I wanted to run the London Marathon because I wanted people to clap me. Anyone else relate? It was a real ego move from me. Thank you, Kirsty. I was cheering people on from the sidelines, and I was like, I want to run. And people would be like, yes, go you. What I didn't realize is you have to do every run bar one not being clapped. So that wasn't the right goal for me because I didn't set it from the right perspective. It wasn't really what I wanted. The second mistake we make with goal setting is we go too big or too small. Anyone resonate with this? Anyone ever set a goal so big, i.e., I'm going to go from 5K to a marathon in 6 months, that it's almost a get-out-of-jail-free card when you don't achieve it? Ooh, we don't really like thinking of it that way, do we? But that's often what it is. It's a subconscious avoidance. It's going, hey, if that goal was so big in the first place, then obviously I didn't achieve it. Come on, be kind to me. But also, sometimes we can go the other way. Has anyone set a goal before and you've achieved it in like half the time you expected to? Or you perhaps achieved it without even realizing? I would then question, did you even need that goal in the first place? And actually, did that goal stretch you any more than you would be stretched without setting it? Anyone resonate with making this mistake? Our goals don't match our capacity. And then the third and final mistake that we can make, we can set the right goal. We can make sure that it fits our capacity, but then we can do the cardinal error of not doing anything about it. Right? That goal that I'd written in my notebook, it was the right goal for me. I still want to achieve it. I will one day. I'll let you know when I do. It was a goal that matched my capacity. I know that I'm able to do it, but I just didn't take any action. Anyone else got a notebook that's a bit of a graveyard of their past goals? Yeah. And you almost don't want to open it because you're like, don't remind me that I did nothing. Action is the only thing that's going to make progress. And if you set a goal but don't think about action, you are just setting yourself up for frustration. This is super cheery, isn't it? I'm loving this. Here's all the things we do wrong. Well, let's think about how we can perhaps avoid those mistakes. So instead of setting the wrong goal, what I want you to think about is how you could cast your vision first and then set goals that link with that. What if we set goals not as the first step, but the second step? And we first of all thought about what's really important to me. Not to my friend, not to my colleague, not to society, what do I want? And then we set our goals that link to that. The second thing that we can do to make sure we're not setting goals that are too big or too small is really carefully consider our capacity. I'm a big believer in being unbelievably, boringly realistic about your ability to achieve your goals. When you're overambitious, a lot of the time, you're just gifting your future self a little bit of frustration because you're not going to be able to achieve the thing in that time frame. And finally, to help ourselves take action, what we want to make sure we're doing is making our goal actionable and considering how we can support ourselves to take that action. I want you to just quickly look at this screen and just take a moment to ask yourself, which of these three do I need to keep in mind the most? Which of these mistakes am I most common at making? What do I need to keep in mind when I'm setting my goals to achieve the things that I've realized today I want to achieve? We can take those three mistakes and the three things to do instead and distill it into a lovely little three-step process. This is a process I've been following in both of my businesses for about 7 years now. It's coined the AB method. It's a stationary range, it's workshops, it's retreats, it's a whole thing. But it works. So I'm going to walk you through it today in the next 9 minutes, okay? So I want you to get your notebooks out. Start making notes as I'm talking, because what that will mean is you don't just leave today with thoughts and ideas, but you've begun the process of setting those actionable, strategic goals. Does that sound good? I won't make you say yes again, but come on, guys, vibes. Okay, so step one, we want to think about our vision, right? First step of the process is where are we actually going? It is so easy to think about goals from a place of should. Does anyone ever do this? Someone says, what do you want to achieve? And you go, oh, what should I do? What do the other people in my industry do? What does my boss think I should do? What does my partner think I should do? Here's an interesting one. What do I think I should do? Sometimes we put expectations on ourselves that aren't even what we want. So the first thing to ask yourself is, what do I want? If you were sat here at Confidence Live in 1, 3, 5 years' time, and you were to deem your life, your work, whatever it might be, a success, what would be true? What would excite you? I want to give you the biggest permission slip here to only write down what feels true for you. And also to not put the pressure on to be super clear with long-term vision. Have you ever been jealous of those people that are like, yep, in 5 years, I'm going to have 3 kids, and I'm going to go on holiday there, and I'm going to run this business, and I'm going to own this house? If you have that level of clarity in your vision, I bow down to you. I personally, when I think about long-term vision, I keep it pretty vague. Here's what would be exciting. Here's how I'd like my life to feel, to look. So that's step one, capture your vision. Then we can move ourselves on to step 2. This is where we set the goals. You see, goal setting doesn't happen first, because goals without a big vision are likely going to be the wrong goals for you. So now I want you to think about what would be my first step in getting towards that vision. I'd encourage you to think about goals for a 3-month time frame. You can do 4 months, you can do 2 months, I don't really care, but 3 months is generally good, because it's enough time that you can make a good bit of progress, but it's not so long that then that goal just feels incredibly huge. So what would be your first step? And I want to normalize here only seeing the first step. Does anyone ever feel the pressure to have a plan like this? Okay, that's where I want to be in 3 years. And I know exactly what I'm going to do today and next month and next year and Q4 of 2026 to get there. Again, if you have that clarity, go for it. But for many goals, particularly ones that are really new, really big, really unknown, it feels a lot more like this. It feels like you're looking at a staircase and you can just see the first 2 steps in front of you. Embrace that. I worked with a client recently who said, Alice, I really want to develop a new arm to my business. And I was like, brilliant, where should we begin? And they said, well, I can't begin because I don't know what the new arm would be. So I can't set a goal because I don't know what the practical thing is. And I was like, that's the goal. The goal is to research. The goal is to explore. The goal is to find out. Your goal does not need to be run the marathon, make this much money, achieve this promotion. It can be. But your 3-month goals could also be spend some time reflecting on that topic. Explore how I feel about this thing. Internal research-based goals, very valid. So we've got our goals. What we can then move on to is that third, final, but often ignored step of action. Hands up, how many people feel like they fall at this hurdle? They've set goals in the past. Like, keep your hands up, look around, see the honesty in the room, right? We've all done it pretty much. We've set a goal, it feels aligned. We're like, yes, 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 I've done it all right. And then we don't do anything with it. If you have ever done that, congratulations, that makes you a human being. things are going to get in the way of you achieving your goals. Even if those goals are the most exciting thing to you, at some point something's going to get in the way. So with this step, I want you to ask yourself a really pessimistic question. Why would your goals fail? Cheery, right? What is likely to get in the way of your action taking? If you can have an awareness around perhaps often where you go wrong or what trips you up, what you're going to then find is when that thing comes along, you don't go, oh my God, I'm procrastinating, therefore that means I'm a failure and I can't achieve this goal. You go, okay, I'm already aware of the fact that procrastination is kind of my thing. I'm pretty good at it. Go me. Cool, what do we do about this? Having awareness around the things that will get in your way is not about changing yourself. In all of my years of asking people this question, I've never seen someone completely remove their desire for shiny objects and changing the goal, or their desire to get a bit distracted or to struggle without accountability. It's not about getting rid of these things. It's about mitigating the impact of them. So how can you support yourself if those things come up? How can you expect them and help yourself? Because very, very simply, a goal without a consideration for action is like gifting your future self a big old box of frustration and disappointment. Makes sense when you put it like that, right? Like if we're not thinking about action, we're basically like, that's what I did, right? When I set that goal in the notebook, sat just down there on that table, I basically said, hey, March 2024, Alice, fuck you. Like you are gonna look at this notebook and you are just gonna feel this immense sense of disruption, frustration, disappointment. We don't wanna be doing that to our future selves, right? So that's where thinking about action is so crucial. If there's not consideration for action, in my opinion, you may as well have spent your time doing something else other than setting goals, because quite frankly, we don't need goals. So if we're going to set them, we may as well help ourselves to actually achieve them. So these are the 3 steps that I would encourage you to follow. Off the back of today, set aside 20 minutes, doesn't need to be long, to maybe just work through those 3 sets of prompts. You can do this with business, you can do this with personal, any time that you need some structure, any time that you notice yourself getting a bit stuck, come back to this. And the final thing I want to round off with is that is so normal, the getting stuck part. I teach this stuff and I still did the thing in the notebook thing, right? I'm probably going to do it again. If you aim for perfection, you're going to completely stall your progress. So yes, follow that process, but more than anything, I want you to embrace messy action. Because every single piece of action that you take after today is a vote for where you want to be in the long term. So I just want to ask you the question of what are you voting for? Thank you.